At 7:12 a.m., a tow truck rolled into my driveway like it owned the place. The driver unspooling a skinny hook toward my closed garage, and on the curb stood Karen Whitaker. Beige suit clipboard, up voice, sharp as a box cutter. "Open this garage right now." I didn't step outside. I slid the steel floor bolt into the concrete, thumbed my doorbell symbol, and said, "If that hook touches my door, you're buying me a new door." She stared into the lens like it was a courtroom and snapped community standards. "Allow emergency abatement," and I said, "Emergency is for fires, not feelings." And somewhere between the fridge, hum, and my heartbeat, I hit record and called the sheriff, because if she crossed the line, I wanted every second of it on tape. My name is Evan Blake, and Maple Ridge is the kind of neighborhood where sprinklers come on before sunrise, and the newsletter tells you how to stack your trash cans, where front lawns look like brochures. And people say, "Good morning," with their teeth closed. And in my garage sits my dad's 1987 Chevy. We rebuilt together one summer. A blue V8 that smells like vinyl oil. And the last version of his cologne, it is not a showpiece. It is a promise that still starts on the first turn most Sundays. And yeah, to Karen, it's an eyesore to me. It's the last conversation with a man who taught me the difference between tightening something and stripping it. The tow driver crouched to fish the release, the hook scratching rubber, and inside my chest, something old and patient stood up and Sheriff Adam Brooks rolled in. Quiet and steady, looked at the tow truck, looked at Karen's clipboard like it was a prop, and said in a voice that never argues, "Garage is part of the dwelling. No court order. No entry." And the driver backed away like he'd just remembered he likes his job. And when Brooks knocked, he didn't lecture me. He just said, "People like her don't lose. They double down." And he wasn't wrong. The paper started arriving like tiny punches to the ribs. A cream envelope with a gold logo telling me bamboo wind chimes could be a noise nuisance. 48 hours or $50, a newsletter. About uncluttered sightlines with a thin shadow shaped like my driveway. A night clip of Karen in a headlamp measuring my fence in 3 spots. The rule is 6 feet. My fence is exactly 6 feet. I watched her realize it and kick a post like the fence had insulted her, and I laughed. Then the certified letter came thick and heavy. Final warning and notice of intent to act. My truck labeled inoperable and hazardous, a threat to tow it in 7 days and slap a lien on my home, a ridiculous gold seal pressed into the page like theater, not county, not real, but designed to make you feel small anyway. And I'll admit my stomach got cold. My best friend Mark told me to print a yard banner that said, "Free HOA hugs," and hang 5 more wind chimes, just to spite her. And I almost did. But I made coffee instead, tightened my camera angles, and waited, you know what I mean. The storm hit on a Thursday. Sky going purple, wind running its own HOA. The house breathed in, and everything died at once. Monitors, fridge, DVR, the quiet that replaces electricity can make a grown man feel 10 years old. Because all my proof lived on that DVR, the little machine that turns petty into a pattern. And right when panic grabbed me, I heard a low cough from the side of the house. Then the generator. My dad and I installed came alive. A heavy, steady rumble. Lights flickered back. The DVR blinked still here, and I swear I could hear my dad's chuckle in the wires. I scrubbed the minutes before the outage, and there it was. A white van with no markings, idling 2 houses down. The lights. Drop the van, rolls away. Coincidence, maybe. But my gut, the same gut that told me to slide the bolt, said no, so I called Sheriff Brooks, and he came by in a dented pickup. Sipped my coffee, watched the clip twice, rubbed his thumb across that fake seal and said, "County doesn't use this for HOA stuff. Not a crime to posture on paper, but it is a crime to order a break-in or procure one. So we wait for her to cross a clean line, and we record it." The plan was simple enough to work a decoy junker about the size of my Chevy. Went in the driveway at dawn misses. Delaney heard me say in confidence, of course, that I was giving up and hauling Dad's truck for scrap. An undercover deputy in an unmarked tow would show up mid-morning with a body cam. Small as a postage stamp. Brooks and another deputy would sit out of sight. And my job was to do the hardest thing for a man with his heart in a garage. Nothing. Keep the cameras rolling. Stay inside. Let words hang. People who love the sound of their own authority. The night before, I slid a length of rebar through the garage door. Tracks an old vacation trick Dad taught me, turned that aluminum panel into a wall. Moved my workbench back, checked my side window mic, placed my phone where muscle memory could find it, and slept in 2-hour bites. At 8:05, the undercover tow beeped into my drive. Like it had a dozen times, the driver stepped down in a greasy tea toothpick. Bored eyes paid by the hour. Energy. And less than 3 minutes later. Here came Karen on quick little steps. Clipboard raised. "That one, isn't it?" she told him. "You're here for the Blake vehicle in the garage." The Chevy and the deputy shrugged, like a man who only reads what's on the paper. "Driveway junk pickup is all I got, ma'am." And that's when she made the call. A gray sedan eased to the curb. 2 big guys in black polos got out with the heavy shoulders of men who think force is a shortcut. They grabbed the garage handle, rattled it hard. The panels popped and flexed. The rebar complained, but held and 10 feet back. I stood with my palms open, because fists come with their own ideas. My heart tapping like a fastball on plywood. And then I heard it. The sentence we needed. The abatement order gives us access. Get it open clean as a bell. Her tone flat with entitlement. The undercover turned just enough for the body cam to catch her face in the words. And he said, "Not breaking anything, ma'am," and took a step back. That changed the day. "Ma'am, I think that's enough for one morning," Brooks said, appearing at the foot of my drive with another deputy, like they'd been walking the neighborhood anyway. No hands on weapons, no heat in his voice, just the weight of a line. And he let Karen talk first. Let her say emergency authority until the syllables fell apart. Then he asked the undercover for the paper she'd filled out on the hood earlier. Held it up, pointed to the fine print the deputy had added. Any means necessary to access the property, to retrieve the violation vehicle, and the neat signature below it, Torrin Whitaker. And in that tiny movement, you could feel the room flip, even though we were standing outside. Confusion, denial, word, salad, and then the world where the badge lives. "Whitaker, you are being detained on suspicion of conspiracy to commit breaking and entering, uttering a forged document, and attempting to procure a crime." The cuffs clicked first on the 2 men who suddenly looked like teenagers outside a principal's office, and yeah, that happened. If you think that was the end, you haven't met a newsletter. The board called an emergency meeting at the clubhouse and tried to talk about law narration. Maple Ridge showed up to talk about the tow, every chair taken. People standing along the walls, the air full of coffee and old carpet, and something like courage. A motion from the floor forced a presentation. Assistant DA Rivera put up a clean timeline dawn clip of the first tow attempt invoices to a towing company tied to a relative with one signature, where two were required. The fence footage that made people laugh until the body cam audio played and the room went quiet. The way a church does right before an answer. The abatement order gives us access. Get it open, a woman in the third row stood. I moved to remove Karen Whitaker as president for conduct detrimental to the community. Someone quoted Bylaw. 7 Section 4B 2/3 required the vote was a forest of hands. Then another vote for her two allies, another to nullify the mess she'd signed and mailed like confetti. The gavel hit the table and we stopped there. No victory cupcakes, no parade, just the sound of people breathing again. That night, I opened my garage, pressed my hand to the dent. They stamped into the panel and decided not to fix it, slid into the Chevy, breathed the mix of vinyl and dust, and the last of Dad's aftershave. Turned the key and felt the engine catch the way it always does. Steady and low, I let it idle for a count of 10 and shut it off, sat in the hush, watched porch lights flick across the street, and wondered what a neighborhood really is. Rules in serif font, or a simple line around your home that says mine is mine, yours is yours. Let's be decent in the space between. You stand your ground the moment someone tries to take a piece of your heart sooner than we're taught, softer than we think, with paperwork, with cameras, with quiet plans that respect the law, and sometimes with a rebar slid through a track, so a thin door becomes a wall. Tell me this, did I go too far? Setting that trap? Or was that the only way to stop a bully wrapped in bylaws? Are HOAs protecting standards, or protecting egos? Have you seen rules used like weapons where you live or work? Drop your city and local time. Share what you've witnessed, push back. If you disagree, and if this hit a nerve, tell me where your line is and how you'd defend it. You know what I mean.